A good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. Our hope is that you had yourselves a productive Tuesday and are continuing to enjoy the festive season. Here's a sneak peek of our edition tonight. President Paul Kagame has reiterated Rwanda's strong support for the World Health Organization Academy, a flagship initiative of the World Health Organization. Rwanda's economy grew by 8.1% in the third quarter. On the international scale, as talks restart for a hostage release and ceasefire in Gaza, the arriving winter means life will get even harder for the 2 million Palestinians living in the territory. Once again, we are glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and my name is Martina Abera. Let us kick things off by informing you that President Paul Kagame has reiterated Rwanda's strong support for the World Health Organization Academy, a flagship initiative of the World Health Organization. The president conveyed this message on Tuesday through a video address to attendees of the official inauguration of the Academy in Lyon, France. In his remarks, President Kagame commended French President Emmanuel Macron, the people of France, and the WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus for their leadership in making the Academy a reality. The Rwandan leader highlighted the significance of the WHO Academy for Rwanda, noting that it aligns with the country's ambitious goal of quadrupling its healthcare workforce within the next 4 years. The World Health Organization Academy is expected to play a transformative role in advancing global health through innovative training and capacity building for health professionals worldwide.
I congratulate the World Health Organization and my brother, Dr. Tedros, for inaugurating the WHO Academy. Thank you for the invitation, and I had hoped to be with you in person. To President Macron and France, I thank you for championing this very important initiative. Rwanda fully supports this Center of Excellence. The COVID pandemic showed us the importance of training Africa's health workforce. New health challenges have continued to arise since then. We need to lean into advancements in science and technology and provide better learning opportunities for health professionals. In Rwanda, we aim to quadruple our health workforce in the next 4 years. The WHO Academy will be instrumental in helping us achieve this objective, and we intend to make full use of it. We owe it to our people to deliver consistent, affordable, high-quality health care. And for us, this means creating partnerships where we can benefit from knowledge transfer in essential fields like biotechnology. There is can with friends and partners to build on what we have already accomplished. We look forward to witnessing the outcomes of this promising institution, and as always, Rwanda stands to support and do its part. Once again, congratulations.
Moving on to the next, on Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente held discussions with a group of nuclear energy experts who had spent 2 days in Kigali deliberating on strategies to harness nuclear energy for Africa's development. The experts, who specialize in nuclear science and its applications, shared with the Prime Minister key outcomes of the conference that brought together African ministers of energy and other stakeholders in Kigali. The discussions focused on advancing nuclear energy as a viable solution for the continent's energy and development needs.
Of human resource or capacity building, we started in 2019 this program, and so far we have already trained 300 Rwandan students who some of them have already graduated. We have sent them to different countries, Russia, Europe, and America, to learn specifically nuclear energy, because this is a skill-intensive sector that needs a lot of expertise. So in addition to those graduates, we also establish cooperation with countries that have already started the programs and have a hands-on expertise. We have not yet started construction. We are still doing the necessary studies, necessary designs, and specifically establishing a regulatory framework. This is a sector that is very highly regulated, and you have to set some laws for radiation, how to handle and to prevent accident. You have to set up institutions. So it's a long journey that we are in, and we cooperate with stakeholders, especially the International Atomic Energy Agency and the United States Department of Energy, which also a co-organizer of this ministerial roundtable. So we have not yet started construction, but we are setting the landscape that is prerequisite for construction.
During the meeting, the Prime Minister outlined Rwanda's development roadmap and emphasized how adopting nuclear energy could support the country's ambitions.
Here, following the vision of His Excellency of implementing a nuclear program in Rwanda over nuclear science and technology, but mainly today's meeting was about the nuclear power plant, the SMRs, the small modular reactors. So we're here with partners from other countries in Africa, but more so our co-conveners for this roundtable, ministerial roundtable discussion. It was the U.S. Department of Energy, the Nuclear Energy Agency in France, and as well as the United Nations Commission for Africa, with Ambassador Gatete, who is from Rwanda, by the way. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, I think, has given us an opportunity to talk about our roundtable, our ministerial roundtable discussion, and then also he has set for what Rwanda is looking into in terms of nuclear energy. Because we talk about electricity, but here it's a bit different. What we need is energy for the socio-economic development of this country. And this is exactly what His Excellency President Kagame has set for the continent in general, and how Rwanda can play a role as a pilot and leading this issue within the continent.
Rwanda aims to begin utilizing nuclear energy within the next 10 years, both for electricity production and other applications. This plan includes the eventual establishment of a nuclear research center to advance knowledge and innovation in the field. Over 300 scientists have gathered in Kigali for the 12th International Conference of the African Materials Research Society. We have more of this report coming from Adam Squizera.
Professor Rome Murenzi emphasized that research on basic materials is crucial for the successful implementation of various government programs.
In chemistry, came from Caltech, California. And the other one, the one in physics, came from Singapore. They all traveled very far to come here in our country. And the conference is a material science for Africa's development. Material science is very important, it's very broad, of course. But you can say that the science that we are using in devices such as the cell phone, such as the computer, sciences and knowledge that we are using to transform your minerals, to add value in your minerals. If you sell your minerals without adding value, you lose a lot. By adding value, by doing transformation, you can go to 10, 100, even 1,000 times of the value that you could use if you just sell it without that. And Rwanda has already, in my opinion, knowledge to be able to do that. The university or even the polytechnics, the youth actually have the knowledge, but how do you transfer that knowledge into policies, into linking with the mining industry, with the other, the energy and petroleum industry? How do you link that, the academia, with this private sector?
Franz Arnold, an American researcher and Nobel Prize laureate, highlighted that African continent possesses unique and natural resources that should be harnessed for both scientific and biological research.
Nature knows how to use most of them. If we can work with nature, work with biology to make things that humans need, then we don't have to pump the oil out of the ground and put the carbon into the atmosphere. Because nature can take carbon from the atmosphere and turn that, well, for example, into trees. Why not turn that into jet fuel? Why not turn that into pharmaceuticals, food, materials, textiles? Biology can learn how to do this.
Currently, 276,303 students in Rwanda are studying science, with 60% of them being girls, participated in the 12th International Conference of the African Material Research, hosted in Rwanda for the first time. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for that report. Heading back to the story on Rwanda's economy. Rwanda's economy grew by 8.1% in the third quarter of 2024. According to the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, the GDP at current market prices was estimated at 4,806 billion Rwandan francs as announced on Tuesday. Prince Manzi with more.
To the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, the agriculture sector saw an overall growth rate of 4%, the industrial sector saw an 8% growth rate, and the service sector saw a 10% growth rate. The Director General of the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, Ivan Murenzi, elaborates on why the service sector continues to ameliorate than other sectors.
The main contributors of that 10% in services is one, wholesale and retail, which grew by 19%. Transport activities grew by 8%. Other notable service sector growth include 17% increase in hotel and restaurants and a 15% rise in financial services. Also, we can add a 19% growth in information and communication services. There are also other subsectors like public administration activities, which increased by 10%, education increased by 2%, health and social work services increased by 8%.
The agriculture sector grew lesser than other sectors with 4% rate. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Yusuf Murangwa, affirms that the digits recorded in the third quarter align with Rwanda's economic expectations.
The quick answer would be yes, because we've seen momentum building from the beginning of the year. Actually, since end of last year, we saw momentum building leading to beginning of this year with 9.7% growth, then 9.8% growth. So 8.1 is in line with expectations. We normally have two expectations. One is formal and one is not formal. The formal expectation is conservative. We normally have a conservative expectation that we normally project publicly after we look at many constraints that can happen, including effects of climate change, where we expect mostly agriculture to possibly be affected by climate issues. So we normally have official projections around 6%, around 6.5%, because mathematically that's what it shows. But in reality, when things go okay and we don't have any major adverse effect, we've seen us getting 9%, 8%. So it's in line with expectations.
Rwanda's economy grew by 8.1% in the third quarter of 2024, with the agriculture sector contributing 24%, 20% by the industrial sector, and the service sector contributing on a 49% rate. This is as the average growth rate for the first 3 quarters of 2024 is 9.2%. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News. Prince Manzi, reporting for radio.
The management of Akagera National Park says the number of tourists has increased significantly in 2024, with many being attracted by the lions introduced to the park since 2015. We have more of this report from Enora Gladys and Safari Desire.
One of the animals that attracts tourists to Akagera National Park is the lion. The last lion died in the park in the year of 2000, and in 2015, the park introduced 7 more lions, including 2 males and 5 females from South Africa. Jean-Paul Karinganire, the Deputy Tourism and Marketing Manager in this park, says that these 7 lions which were brought in have now bred and the population has grown to 60.
Since 2015, we have reintroduced lions from South Africa, 7 of them, 2 males and 5 females. They're doing very well. I would say we have around 60 currently, and both population from both prides. We have 2 prides. They're doing very well, and we have a few other males that move by themselves, which we call a coalition. So the interaction, the social interactions are very good. The hunting, they're hunting normally, and they're adapting to the park. And so all the social life of the lion is normal, nothing abnormal we see, and we are doing our best to make sure that they continue to live sustainably in the park, to contribute to the balance of the ecosystem, which is the reason why we brought lions in the Akagera National Park. Before you introduce lions, you see on many sides, inside the park and outside the park. Historically, Akagera used to be a home of over 300 lions, but all of them were locally extinct because of the human-wildlife conflict and poaching. So the human-wildlife conflict was caused because the people were grazing their livestock in the park, but also lions were going outside the park. And that conflict caused the people losing their livestock, which is the source of the wealth, and also lions were being killed through poisoning and other poaching activities. So that was, first of all, cleared. We had a fence since 2013, an electric fence that protects the park in a way that animals don't go outside, but also people don't come inside illegally. That is very important to make sure that there's a barrier for lions to not go outside, but also inside the park we made sure that we remove every threat, including wire snares that could, trap a lion and which could result to death. So we ensure that the security and safety of the lions and the people is assured, and then we reintroduced them in 2015. After that, we have seen how they evolve, the rate of reproduction, and that helped us to put in place measures that will help us to ensure that the lion population is stable, is not beyond the carrying capacity of the park, and we are on top of that. Currently we have 60 lions, and the park can support between 90 to 100 lions in the park.
Lions are among the top 5 animals that attract many tourists in Akagera National Park, often referred to as the Big 5. The others are leopards, buffaloes, rhinos, and elephants. These attract many tourists from the African continent and also from other continents. Anita Soina from Kenya and Juliet Ezogbor from Nigeria are talking about their experience in Rwanda and also in the park.
First of all, I would like to appreciate them for the good work they are doing, because actually before we came, we were having a discussion with our boss, and he asked us, why do you think so many things are happening the way they are in Rwanda, like the cleanliness, for example, and our guide just shared it with us this morning, that it's because people come together to do that willingly without pay. So it's to appreciate really what the citizens are able to do, because they have shown that we the people are really the change makers, and we can make our country to be what we want it to be, and to appreciate the leadership for what it has been able to achieve, and to tell them that for sure they shouldn't take for granted what they have. First giraffes that were donated by Kenya, those years back in the days, and I think that was the first thing that I was excited to hear about, and also the partnership that the Rwandan government has been able to do with other NGOs to be able to get animals here, and that you've been able to conserve. So we've had more animals, from let's say 5 lions to about 60. And still growing. I think that's great to show that even as a continent, we still support each other's tourism sector. And this park is an example because it hosts most animals, and Big Five, and even outside the Big Five that are from other regions in Africa.
And I like how everything is so ordered. Like they obey the rules of just general rules. There's no deviation, and I'm a stickler for rules. So I'm very happy when I see things going according to how it's supposed to be, and that's one of my main takeaways, because as I'm looking at it, and also the trees, even in the city, and you're driving and you're seeing trees, and that's so wonderful, because honestly, we need to take the green initiative very seriously due to the climate change, and so the fact that Rwanda takes that very seriously and take steps to promote policies and implement them and enforce them.
At the end of November 2024, Akagira National Park received 51,532 tourists, with 25,607 of them being Rwandan nationals. 21,688 are foreign tourists, and 3,746 are foreign residents from Rwanda and East Africa.
Giraffes are one of the animals found in Akagira National Park. In 2023, Akagira National Park received more than 54,000 of tourists coming from outside of the country and also inside the country. In Akagira National Park even made a high profit of 2 billion Rwandan francs in the third trimester only. Gladys, RwandaTV News in the Akagira National Park.
Thank you, Nora, for that report. The cost of medicines and medical equipment in Rwanda has significantly decreased by between 60% to 200% as the country now sources these products directly from manufacturers. The Ministry of Health has announced that starting next year, the private sector will also have access to these imported medicines and equipment. In early 2021, Rwanda launched a program to strengthen its presence in the pharmaceutical and medical equipment industries by establishing direct contracts with manufacturers. This move was past intermediaries whose involvement had been driving up costs for the country. Currently, between 3,000 and 4,000 types of medicines are imported directly from foreign factories, with hospitals such as Masaka and Kibagabaga among the recipients. Dr. Abel Dushimimana, chairman of the Association of Importers of Pharmaceutical Products in Rwanda, expressed optimism that importers can join forces to benefit from the existing contracts between the government and these industries.
This will require us to work collectively so that we can become even stronger. When people work together, capital increases, and by joining forces, we can reach manufacturers directly without relying on multiple distributors. When you operate at a larger scale, it becomes easier to work directly with factories.
The country spends over 100 billion Rwandan francs annually on importing medicines and medical equipment. Dr. Sabin Sanzimana, the Minister of Health, has emphasized that 2025 will signify the end of inflated prices for medicines and medical equipment in both the public and private sectors.
Distributing medicines is not limited to public hospitals. It can also be done in private ones. With a well-structured system and efficient processes, the costs can be reduced significantly. We are currently working on a strategy to make medicines more affordable by sourcing them directly from manufacturers, thereby eliminating the need for multiple distributors that drive up the prices. While this approach may not apply to all types of medicines, we have already made notable progress. I believe that 2025 will mark a significant milestone in implementing these changes and showcasing the improvements we have made.
According to data from Rwanda Medical Supply Limited, the cost of various medicines and medical equipment, including machines, has decreased by 60% to 200%. For instance, an endoscopy machine that was purchased for $450,000 in 2023 now costs $220,000. A freezer machine has dropped from $170,000 last year to $12,000 this year. An autoclave machine decreased from $98,000 to $49,000, while a monitor saw a reduction from $26,000 to $9,000. Welcome back to other stories making headlines on the international scene. Heading off to Gaza, as talks restart for a hostage release and ceasefire in Gaza, the arriving winter means life will get even harder for the 2 million Palestinians living in the territory. VOA has the details.
An Israeli-designated safe zone in southern Gaza. Etimad, her husband Arif, and their 2 grown children fled their home in northern Gaza and have been displaced 5 times since the beginning of the war between Israel and Hamas last year. They worry about surviving the winter.
The idea that winter is coming and there will be rain is a scary and bleak because fabric. It cannot bear the rain.
Etimad says it is impossible to hygienize living in a tent.
There is no cleanliness. All day I try to organize and clean, and yet I feel like I haven't done anything. Insects and mice are widespread here. They gnaw at clothes, bedding, and bags of legumes.
Etimad's husband Arif says rain used to be seen as a blessing for Gazans, especially those working in agriculture. But now he says it's a curse.
In
the old rain, something we thanked God for, but now we pray for no rain because we are living on turned against us. Even agricultural land, which was for farming, is now the place where we set our tents.
Winter is arriving as Gaza's humanitarian crisis is getting worse. The medical system is barely functioning, and UNRWA, the lead UN agency working with the Palestinians, says there is simply not enough food for the population of more than 2 million Palestinians, especially in northern Gaza.
So there is a real risk today that we again entering into the winter, the immunity system of the people is much more weakened, that we enter a situation where famine or acute malnutrition is unfortunately again a likelihood. And again, this can be avoided.
Israel recently severed ties with UNRWA, saying some of its employees took part in the October 7th attack on Israel, a claim UNRWA denies. The Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, says it allows enough international aid into Gaza through its checkpoints and that the problem is one of distribution in
more than 800 trucks that's waiting for the international community to deliver it from here to the people inside Gaza.
As the Abu Maryam family sees things, it doesn't really matter who is responsible for the lack of aid. They are facing another cold, rainy winter in a tent, not knowing when they will be able to move back home. Linda Gradstein, VOA News.
What is in the skies of the eastern United States? In recent weeks, countless drones have been spotted, and everyone from residents to the incoming president has questions. VOA once more.
Airlines don't just hang out, and those aren't helicopters.
Why have a large number of drones suddenly appeared in the skies over New Jersey? Who sent them, and why? These are questions spreading across America and the world. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said Sunday there was no indication of foreign involvement. He said that authorities are on it, but pointed to stretched thin resources.
I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended.
Residents say their normally quiet skies have lit up in recent weeks as officials seek answers.
They're not the size of a commercial airliner, but they're the size of a vehicle. Because if they get lower, they would get substantially bigger. And I can see that. I could tell. It's not a hobbyist. And there's so many around New Jersey, throughout the whole state. Everybody's seen this for 3-4 weeks now. That imagine how much money this must cost.
Top elected leaders are demanding action.
Why do we have more questions than answers? Well, we're here today for 3 reasons. First, to push a new but unclassified tech into wide use, the so-called Robin, to get answers on these drones, and also to announce that I am going to help pass, and I'm going to co-sponsor legislation that will combat these drones in a better way by allowing local police departments and state police departments to help the feds in citing these drones, which so many have requested.
And President-elect Donald Trump offered his own theory Monday. He would not say whether he had received a classified briefing on the matter.
The government knows what is happening. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on.
Whatever this is, everyone agrees. They want answers. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
And that VOA story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we close off, let's have a recap of our headlines. President Paul Kagame has reiterated Rwanda's strong support for the World Health Organization Academy, a flagship initiative of the World Health Organization. Rwanda's economy grew by 8.1% in the third quarter of 2024. On the international scale, as talks restart for hostage release and ceasefire in Gaza, the arriving winter means life will get even harder for the 2 million Palestinians living in the territory. On that note, we close off with our bulletin. On behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. My name is Martina Abera. Stay safe and have a great night.